just read out the Holo-Addiction definition on the wiki and tell me if this doesn't sound familiar. I planned to make this video a very long time ago, but it didn't happen, so we're here now. If any of you have seen Star Trek, you might be familiar with the concept of a holodeck. A holodeck is essentially where VR is going. It's a room where holograms and holographic simulations are. How do you define a hologram? Honestly, hard to. It's a simulation. You can touch, see, smell, all that other stuff, but like visual novel kind of game where you make choices and they affect the story, but ultimately the story is pre-programmed. But also, I have seen holodecks used a lot to create like a sort of just environment, like an ever-existing environment with characters who can learn from their environment and build relationships with real people, stuff like that. I'm hoping you're already seeing the metaphor here. Holodeck, daydreaming, the holograms are paras, yeah. But also, and some of the series that have holodecks, sorry, count the amount of times I mess with my hair, it's bugging me. Holodecks, right? You can add in characters, program them to behave the way you want. You can give it a setting, and you can basically live out your fantasy. Yeah. Okay. Now, in some Star Trek series, there is this phenomenon. Oh, I need to go to the website. Hold on. So, there is this concept with holodecks in the Star Trek universe called Holo-Addiction. Because these holodeck simulations are oftentimes so perfect that people find themselves addicted to it. They find themselves spending hours upon hours in these holodecks instead of doing actual work and feeling very emotionally attached to the holograms inside the program. Let me just be. This is my new favourite metaphor. Let me just read out the Holo-Addiction definition on the wiki and tell me if this doesn't sound familiar. Holo-Addiction was a psychological disorder in which a person preferred the fictional world of the holodeck to the real world. The addiction functioned as an escape mechanism, symptomatic of deeper psychological. Perfect. This is my new favourite metaphor. Anytime someone says or asks about it, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I have real life holo-addiction. Because I do. This video was actually spurred on by the fact that we were watching an episode about it, it's one linked here on Star Trek Voyager, Human Error. And I was watching it, finding out how cringe I found it. Probably because I related too much. Mom was like, you do your own kind of version of that, don't you? And I was like, call me out like this. There are 2 episodes about it listed here. I've only seen one of them. So I might honestly go watch the other, just out of context. Lieutenant Reginald Barclay suffered from holo-addiction when he was assigned to the USS Enterprise, which was cured when he started to make real friends. But the one I was watching that really got me is 7 of 9 from Voyager, who is a recovered Borg, runs some simulations to sort of test out some scenarios in human interaction. And the ever work-focused 7 of 9 starts to disappear from her workstation. She starts lying to people to make excuses to go to this holodeck. To go to this holodeck simulation. She loses out on her version of sleep. She lies to her doctor about why she's losing this amount of sleep. She lies to her captain about where she's going when she's not at her workstation. when her captain calls her out for having been on the holodeck instead of at her workstation, she says that she has logged 49 hours in the holodeck in a 6 day period. There's a lot I love about this episode. If you haven't seen it, genuinely, you don't even need to watch Voyager. Just watch that episode. You should watch Voyager, but you should watch that specific episode if you're a Maladaptive Daydreamer, because they get it, which is weird because it's a rare thing and it's weird to see other people get it when they're not actually talking about it. But somebody in that writing department gets it. There's so obviously Seven's particular holodeck simulation, kind of like how a lot of us develop paracosms actually, because it starts with a small change. In this holodeck simulation, her Borg implants have been completely removed. That's the only change. And the simulation therefore goes from how her interactions with the crew around the ship she actually lives on, it's the same ship, except the people and the events are very slightly different. And it's just about them interacting. And in this holodeck simulations, she develops a relationship with one of her crewmates. And there's this wonderful but horrible moment when she is lying with this hologram version of her crewmate, and he actually calls on her, and you can see the confusion and the disorientation in her face as she gets up and looks down at him as he looks at her adoringly and knows that she has to go be practical with the real one. It's a moment. And I think it's a moment that a lot of daydreamers relate to and have to see. I'm the worst, and I immediately have to clarify, in case anyone I know is watching, I've never daydreamed romantically about anyone I actually know, but I hear it's a thing that happens. Well, the other thing about that I find interesting, in the same series that human error occurs, that Seven develops Holo-Addiction, and they all realize the problem is this universe isn't real, and that's why she should stop being in this universe. In that same universe, you have the Doctor. Now, for a little backstory in case you haven't seen it, in Star Trek, at least at this point in Star Trek, they have what's called an EMH, Emergency Medical Hologram, and it's there so if something happens to the Doctor, they have a replacement until they can find a replacement for the human, or not human, but humanoid Doctor. But what happens in Voyager is they get stranded, and it's after they get stranded that their Doctor dies, which means that the only fully qualified medical professional on the ship is the EMH, leading to the fact that the Doctor runs almost consistently for how long are they stranded? Something like 7 years. And near the very his program is, like I said, like some holograms can be, is designed to adapt and learn, so that he can perform his duties perfectly, but he can adapt to anything. And as the series goes on, it becomes more and more of, shall we say, a person. It starts with relationships with the crew, actually. He finds a friend in Kess. Kess is his friend. He is a hologram. He is made of light, as by all definitions shown in the series so far, he doesn't exist. But he has made a friend. And he learns from that friend. He learns empathy. He learns better bedside manner. And as the series goes on, he becomes so much more like a well-rounded person. He learns opera. He develops a passion for photo imaging. And by near the end of the series, he writes a book, and the crew end up legally fighting that he should be considered a person, as in with full rights of any other humanoid, fully sentient person. Because, as a hologram, the algorithm allows him to learn, And while he may not have started as a full-fledged person, his ability to learn and develop new interests and be changed by his experiences have allowed him to become a fully fledged person by the end. And it's mostly due to the time he was allowed to do these things. And I can't help but look at that and think of some of the paras that have been with me the longest. Paras who I can't and never have been able to control. You know, I say do this thing because it fits with the story and they go, fuck you, I'm over here now. I'm not saying, I would love to say it's the same thing. I don't think it is. But it's good for thought for anyone that doesn't understand why we get so attached to these characters, why they feel like real people to us. I mean, yeah, at the beginning they all disregard the doctor and it's, you know, he's not real, he's just made of light. By the end, they all consider him a friend and they would be offended if you insulted him or tried to harm him in any way, including saying that he should be taken offline, as in, you should stop daydreaming. It's impossible, real or not to develop an attachment to even the image of a person that has been in your life for a very, very long time. It's perfectly normal, and your feelings on that are valid. Do not let anyone convince you they are not. It's been, and I still doubt I'm going to talk about it, it's been a very specific thing I've wanted to talk about that way for a while, but I'm not sure I'm not ready to be honest about it, or just anyone could find it yet. But yeah, your feelings for your powers are absolutely valid. It doesn't matter that they're not real. They're real to you, and that's what matters. So, what I'm gonna do, and I've been going back and forth on this for a while for a lot of reasons. There's a lot I really, really, really want to talk about. But I'm scared of anyone I know finding, or just anyone being able to see. So, what I'm gonna do, and even if nobody looks at it, it's fine because I will know it's out there and I'll feel better. I'm gonna make a Patreon. I'm gonna put all of the stuff that I've been too scared to upload on there. It's gonna be really cheap, honestly. The concept is not about, yes, having a form of income right now would be amazing because I really, 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 really want to move out, and getting the finances to do so has been very difficult. But the major point is, if there's a paywall between getting to me and my secrets, people I know and people who hold any ill will against me in this disorder are much, much, much less likely to see it. You know? So that will be linked in the description. Feel free to ignore the fuck out of it. I don't honestly care. It feels weird to, at the level I'm at, be doing things like Patreon, but it's not really about Patreon. It's about me feeling secure enough to share things I wouldn't otherwise. I'm gonna stop talking. I have nothing to say. I'm just talking. Yeah, no. Bye. Bye.